Hello and welcome to I Have Questions. I'm Sam.
I'm Alex.
And today we are doing foreign dramas. So this is our last week of Foreign Film February. Yay! So we're doing one movie from France.
City of Lost Children, 1995.
We're doing one movie from Mexico or is it Spain?
Mexico.
Mexico?
It takes place in Spain.
Yeah. And we are doing one movie from Korea.
Yes, which I was really surprised you hadn't seen or even heard of.
I thought I had seen this movie already, but I haven't.
Not in that order, actually.
Yes, sorry.
So we're doing City of Lost Children, then Handmaiden, and then Biutiful. I guess let's just roll with it. So, City of Lost Children is a French film by Jean-Pierre Jeunet, who you may know from as the director of Delicatessen, if you ever saw it. I still keep putting it off and probably should have made that the film. And Amélie, which had massive success way back in the day. It's like one of the few movies I've seen probably almost 10 times. Because I'm an old softie and it's sweet.
Gross.
And it has good jokes in it. This City of Lost Children, you can definitely see Genet's sense of humor coming in, which is slightly dark.
Slightly.
Okay, very dark.
It's very dark.
It reminds me of... It's so fucking French. It reminds me a lot of... what's the director of saying? Oh, it reminds me a lot of Terry Gilliam's sensibilities, where you have an outlandish kind of scenario and people just kind of the worlds he builds are very lived in. You get a sense hey, people live and work and function in these worlds, and they do what they can to survive and do what they can to get by. He always has a good eye for that. And the reason I'm talking around the film is because it's weird to talk about.
It's very weird. Like Alex said, I like that part of the film that even though this world is really strange, there's no question about anything that's going on in the film. So we feel okay, so this is a thing. So it's hard to do questions for this movie because it's just okay, cool, this is just how things are. Yeah.
If you've watched Brazil, it kind of has that same feeling where you get the background of the world through the characters, not from them just throwing exposition at you or vomiting exposition at you, but from them just living in the world and how they react to circumstances that surround them. So the kind of instigating event is we have Mr. One, played by Ron Perlman, who's a kind of carnival strongman. He is kind of like a handler who does announcing for him. It's he's going to break these chains, and he's got chains wrapped around him.
He used to be a whaler. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he said he heard whales cry, and then he missed every shot after that, so he got fired. It's just okay. And also, Ron Perlman doesn't speak French, but he memorized all the lines for the movie. Yeah, and
he has to play a dullard, so.
Yeah, it's really adorable because he has a lot of one word answers. He talks like someone who's just learning the language because they're oh, he's the redheaded moron or something like that. But it's not like he's redheaded moron as oh, he's stupid and comedic. It's really sweet and he's very endearing. Yeah, it's you just want to take care of him because he's very single minded.
So what is it? So his handler gets killed. And
out of nowhere.
Yeah. Basically someone was trying to grift them out of money during this demonstration because there's kind of performance artists essentially. Stabs them. They're working as a pair, and then at some point somewhat recently after that, his little brother gets
Kidnapped.
Yeah. Denry?
Donry?
Donry.
Donry.
Yeah, Donry. What's the most French sounding one?
Also, it's really adorable because Donry is a child that thinks only of his stomach and literally nothing else. He's just sitting at the table eating, and then they're hiding from kidnappers, and Donry's just eating an apple.
Yeah.
And he's just I understand this is a tough situation. I should be quiet. Let me just chew on this apple really quick. And all throughout the movie, it's very cute because it's he gets in and out of situations because he's eating. So it's really adorable. But yeah, the people, so he's been kidnapped. So it's like the kind of meanwhile back at the ranch moment is there's a two meanwhile back at the ranches. One group who steals children because there's this doctor who can't sleep. He keeps having nightmares. So I
think it's that he can't dream.
He can't dream.
And all the dreams he's able to steal. So he's trying to steal dreams from children, but the only dreams he can steal from them are nightmares.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, why are these kids so scared? It's like, because you kidnapped all of them.
Yeah.
So some part of the movie is him trying to make the children happy, but actually terrifying them.
Mm-hmm. And like dressed as Santa.
Yeah. It's just a Santa, and he was singing a French song, but he had woken all the children up, so they were all super cranky. Yeah. And they were like, who are you? You don't look like Santa, you don't sound like Santa. And they were just all crying, and he was like, he just kept singing because I guess he didn't realize that he was scaring the children. But the doctor also has six clones. Not of himself, but of another scientist that we learn about later. So there's 6 clones who are very childish and also narcoleptic.
Yeah, they're all 6 of them are narcoleptic.
Yeah. And then a dwarf woman named Martha, and then a brain that's in a vat.
Irving.
Irvin, who none of this is really explained. The clones are kind of explained, but the brain isn't.
Yeah. I honestly can't remember what the original Doctor's like ambition was for it. Mm-hmm. I think it was just like, I think it was longing for companionship. So he creates all these people. Crank, the original, well, not the original, but one of the earlier ones, the one who ends up doing the dream stealing. The brain in a jar, not complete. He wanted a wife, creates Martha, and then it's like ends up creating 6 clones of himself, all played by the same person, Dominique Pignon, who you may remember from. Well, he's in Amelie. He's also in
Aliens.
Resurrection.
Is it Resurrection?
I'm pretty sure it's Resurrection.
Alien Resurrection?
He's the guy in the wheelchair.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. The one... Actually, yeah, because Ron Perlman's in that too. Yes. Ron Perlman.
I think they're a package deal.
Yeah.
I hope so. But yeah. I love Dominique Pignon. He has amazing facial range.
Oh, because he's a weird face.
Yeah. Love it.
It's a very wide mouth.
So wide. Yeah, when he tries to basically like calm the children, it's great because he's getting silly. So a lot of the plotting ends up revolving around trying to, find his way to the island, and Mr. One ends up coming into contact with some thieves. Essentially, it's a gang of children.
I guess this is where the title comes from.
There are children being stolen, and then there's also they're basically all orphans.
Yeah.
Miete, and the tadpole. Yeah, okay. Or the tadpole, as Mr. One tells to call her. She's under the oppressive rule of the octopus, who is a Siamese twin joined at the leg. Mm-hmm. So they have only 3 legs.
Yeah. Fun fact about this. These are played by women who are not even twins.
Yeah.
They just look very, very similar, and the makeup made them look like they were twins. And also...
the choreography.
Yeah, the choreography, they move as one person, despite the fact that they're only connected to the foot.
Yeah.
So, and fun fact about the film, they're always standing still in the movie because they actually couldn't move with the boot. Because they had a boot that they both put their foot in, and it was so heavy that they couldn't move around on the set. Mm-hmm. So all of their scenes, they're standing still. But since they're constantly moving their hands as if they were one person.
Mm-hmm. The cooking scene is amazing.
Yeah, there's a scene where they're cooking, and it's really weird, but it's really cool and very well choreographed.
One scratching the other, both of them holding the shredder, but then at the same time also like cutting food.
Yeah, one tasting and the other going, that's good, needs more salt, like kind of thing. Yeah. It's really good. But they're horrible people.
Oh yeah, no, totally.
They like threaten the children every time, just like, we're gonna throw you out or like torture you or something.
Yeah. Oh, they're perfectly fine with killing people.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
So the people who are actually stealing the kids are like a cyborg cult, basically.
Yeah, it's a cult. It's a cult of the blind. It's very strange because they said blind is the way to go. Yeah, and they're collecting all these blind people, but they give them these cyborg eyes that are provided by
the doctor,
the scientist, in return for stealing children for them. Mm-hmm. And they also use like a thing that kind of enhances what they hear.
Oh, yeah.
So they use this thing that enhances what they hear, and then they use one little cyborg eye on one of their eyes to see kind of night vision goggles kind of
that's what they
view into things. Really strange. The scenes are interesting that they're in. The way things are shot, it's a lot of from the bottom up or from the top down. There's not that many straight on shots, which which makes the film look even more crazy.
If I recall, there was also quite a bit of Dutch angling, or just like go slightly off tilt.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of the sense of unease throughout it, which is fair because I mean the environment is mostly dark. Yeah, 90% of the time. There's very few bright scenes shot in this.
Yeah, the bright scenes are most of the scenes with Miet and One.
So at some point, though, they do get captured. The octopus decides to...
So the octopus is trying to kill Miet because Miet ran away with One. Because they'd done a fence right before. So because One, I think he saw like the truck that had a symbol on it of the same people who kidnapped Donri.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just started chasing after them. And Miet's like, what are you doing? And just, she pocketed some jewels and then started running after him. Because it's really adorable because Miet's taking care of One the whole time, but Miet's like 12. And she's also kind of falling in love with him, but he's like, you're going to be my new little sister kind of thing, taking care of him. So it's that weird French romance kind of thing.
Well, Miette herself even says it's like, one such as me has had to grow up. It's like, I am a child, but it's like, I basically become a woman because of all the horrible shit she's had to do and live through.
Her lines are harsh.
Yeah.
Like the lines that she reads, they're very like nihilistic and very pessimistic, and it's
French.
And it's very, because it's like, it's so sad because it's coming out of this 12-year-old's mouth and all the lines sound like a middle-aged woman who's just given up on everything.
I think she's supposed to be even younger.
Yeah, well, all the kids are like maybe 10 and under for them. Yeah. But I think the girl maybe at the time was like 13 or 14.
Yeah. The octopus ends up commissioning... I can't remember.
So he used to have a freak circus. Yeah. Who the octopus was a part of, bearded lady and all that stuff. And he also has a flea circus. Yeah. With actual fleas that are trained. So he calls him his creepy crawlies. And they're also his assassins.
Yep. Basically, they inject like the tiniest vial of poison into the head that causes mindless aggression. Mm-hmm. And he gets the Cyclops drones to end up like attacking one another in a really horrible way. Yes. I won't spoil that part, but it's pretty creepy and visceral. But because Miet and Mr. One are
on a plank.
Yep, with rotting fish behind them holding as a counterweight that seagulls are eating at.
Yeah, it becomes like kind of a game. They kind of bet on who's going to fall first because the seagulls are eating all the fish and they're just going to slowly wait for people to fall in the water. But the strange about it's not like there are sharks or anything in the water. They're just like, oh, you're just going to drown. Mm-hmm. Like they don't have anything tied to them. It's just their legs are tied. But like humans, if you can dead float for a little bit. So I don't know what they thought was going to happen. I guess it was just like a cool shot, but unless they had weighted them down, which it doesn't look like.
Marcello, however you say it, ends up getting the manages to save the one because that's who the octopus.
Marcello is the circus.
Yeah, the flea
circus guy.
Yeah, manages to save the one, but Miet falls in and is rescued by the amnesiac diver. Yeah. who catalogs and just like he's like a whole history down here. He doesn't remember his past.
Yeah, he catalogs everything that basically falls to the bottom of the river. And at one point he catalogs her. Like he says where, like he puts a tag on her that says where she was found. Yeah. And then steps on her hand to wake her up. Steps on her hand with a diving boot. Yeah. To wake her up. And I was just like, this person is very crazy and strange. Like you could have just thrown water on her.
He wasn't trying to wake her up. He just accidentally stepped on her hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then she just started coughing.
I guess he thought she was dead.
Yeah. It was like, oh, well. the one is naturally, being a simpleton, is just sad as hell.
He's like, oh, Miet, and he's just like sitting in the bar crying. And this woman comes over because Marcello is just like, make him feel better. So every time she's trying to like show him cleaving and all this stuff. And he's like, my Miet. And starts crying and gets really drunk.
Marcello also feels bad because he's just like, he's also like, a child died.
Yeah. He's like, he's crying on the phone when he has to tell the octopus that she's dead and stuff, because she's like, are you okay? He's like, I'm just sniffling, it's fine. So he doesn't really want to do any of this stuff. Like, all the people who work for the octopus hate the octopus, because they also have like a guard man who's also like, I hate these bitches. Like, just like, I hate these old hags. Obviously, the octopus finds out that Miet's not dead, so she goes after the circus guy, and goes with her henchman, who she's like, shoot him in the head. The henchman's just like, I hate those hags, and just points the gun at the ceiling and shoots the ceiling instead of killing the flea circus guy. And then they steal the fleas for their assassin techniques.
There's a lot of like. The CGI aged surprisingly well on it.
Yeah.
I think it's because the film is so dark.
The film is really dark, so it gets away with a lot. And there's the CGI, it's like, okay, the flea thing, that's CGI. And then you have...
Most of it is just great set design.
Yeah. There's one thing, it's like, so the brain sends out a distress beacon in the form of a dream. Mm-hmm. And that's the one where I was just like, you could have just not done that, because the CGI for that looks really bad.
I mean, what do we know then?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How these things would age.
Yeah.
It's 95, man. Or 90s in general.
But it's weird because the brain is just like, he hates being there, and he's like really shitty to the scientist Crank, and he always talks shit about him and tries to make him cry and stuff. Yeah.
Like, what do you taunt me so? So this dream in a jar that gets thrown out basically as a message in a bottle ends up being found by the amnesiac doctor, who was the diver who rescued Miet.
Who's also the original.
Yep.
Yeah, he's the original.
But with the beard.
Yeah, with the beard. And it's weird because he doesn't recognize his clones. Yeah. And I was just like, when was the last time you looked in a mirror? Probably not within the past 10 years.
And he gets really driven to like, nope, gotta end it. It was all a mistake.
Yeah, so he has like some of his memories come back, and then he's just like, okay, I gotta end it. I gotta end the lab. So then he makes this journey towards their base, which is surrounded by mines.
But they find a map of the minefield from a tattoo artist.
Yeah,
and it's on his head.
Because I guess if you're a sailor, that's a handy thing to have. Is a map of the mines around in the water. So you have still the two stories of one in Miet trying to find the little brother, and now you have the story of the original trying to come and destroy the place. Yeah,
and meanwhile, they're still trying to figure out how to make the children happy, and then
Donry shows up.
Yeah, Crank is about to get served his evening dinner, and just before they send down the dumbwaiter,
Donry climbs onto the plate and starts eating the food and gets sent off.
By the time he gets to the bottom, he's eaten everything, and Crank is just like, this child is pure. He just thinks with his stomach.
Yeah, and it's also because the child's not afraid. Like, all the other kids like cry and stuff when Crank comes in the room because he's scary looking and creepy. But Donry is just like, there's food here, so I'm happy. No. So he's just sitting there eating everything, and then Crank is like, yes, he's so pure. He thinks only of his stomach. He's not going to have any nightmares. I'm like, yeah, because he's probably going to dream about food.
Yeah. So now he has to enter his mind. Now we have three things. We have Donry and Crank in the dream, the original trying to destroy the base, and of course, one Miet trying to rescue all the other children as well as Donry. Yeah. So they managed to get in, and Miet ends up, or no, actually, Crank drops the one down out of the base, and we think he's dead. As the original is setting up explosives, and then Miet has to enter the dream to get Donry out. And it's this weird kind of like dreamscapey thing to a degree.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm so old already. Like, just in how the life she's had to live.
Yeah, so she gives up her age to de-age Crank.
Yeah.
And then Crank ends up being so young that it, like, fries his brain, I guess.
Yeah.
He dies. It's very strange how he dies. Like, this movie is like, oh my God, I don't even know how to describe a lot of stuff. But, you know, they end up, of course, escaping, and
as they board the lifeboats and the original decides to strap himself to the base before it explodes, he's like, the void is infinity. It's like, oh, infinity. It's like, God, this is so fucking
yeah.
French. Of course, some notes fly out at the same time and he grabs one. It's like, I guess this was what he was looking for.
Yeah, this is his research, and so he's like, you know what? like, I'm the original, you must save me. But it's too late, and he blows up and he dies.
Yeah. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
It's the pacing's honestly a little bit weird throughout it, but like the visuals kind of help make up for it a bit.
Yeah, there's this weird romance between One and Miette.
It's French. I kind of
the octopus is really crazy and strange and dies in a very strange way, but
all the characters fit into their world well.
Yeah,
which is like. It's weird to say because, like, sometimes people are like, we created a fantastic world. Here are the people that inhabit it. And they spend way too much time trying to explain every fucking detail.
There's nothing really explained. The brain does a little bit of explanation about how the clones got there, but that's really it.
Mm-hmm. But it's in service to the story.
Yeah.
In a good way, rather than just being something that's, like, might as well just be turning to the audience and yelling at them.
Yeah.
Which is what I hate in some films. It's like, here's this great world we created.
Yeah. I would say give it a watch. It's very interesting. It's not like scary really. A little bit uncomfortable because of some of the moments with the violence is uncomfortable because it's not like crazy violence. It's just slightly torturous violence. And yeah, if you are uncomfortable about a grown man like with a young girl who talks to him like she's his lover, but the grown man talks to her like she's a little sister.
It's okay. Let's put it this way. Final thoughts. So it's not Lolita level, but it's not as casual as The Professional.
Yeah,
I'd say it's somewhere in between. Actually, it might be below The Professional.
Yeah,
Leon the Professional.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that movie, we should put that on the list. That's got a lot of issues.
We'll find some. Yeah. We'll find someone to shove that into. But anyway, we're going to take a brief break and we'll come back with The Handmaiden.
Yeah, with our special guest.
Yeah. And we're back with Handmaiden, 2016 Korean film. I'm Alex. Oh, wait, we don't need that because we already introduced
ourselves. Okay, and we have our special guest, Jill.
Hello.
Our number one fan. Suck it, Dad.
You still haven't listened to 2 episodes because they have 0 views.
I know. I'm a couple behind right now.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It would help if we both shilled for this.
It probably would. You guys have no advertising.
I do the Twitter. Sort of. Anyway.
That mistake? Twitter was a mistake. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
You were cutting this out.
No, anime was a mistake.
You were. Oh God, no.
You brought me on your show. You deserve this.
Okay. So, The Handmaiden is essentially a heist movie. Everyone's telling what seems like 2 or 3 lies, but really there's only one big lie that ties everything together.
Is it a heist movie or is it just really well shot porn?
It does have.
We'll get to that. Okay. The Handmaiden. Okay, let's start with a little bit of history first. So, back in the day, Japan basically conquered Korea.
Yep.
What do you mean, basically?
Well, they were down to a couple cities.
Yeah.
And they try to wipe out the Korean language and take a lot of Korean women. And the nobles were using Korean women as handmaidens, while Japanese nobles were using Koreans as handmaidens in their house. So a lot of Korean women at the time knew Japanese. So this movie is half in Korean, half in Japanese.
Thanks, subtitles.
Yeah, thank you, subtitles.
All in English subtitles.
Yeah, well, the subtitles distinguish... That's originally in the movie, the subtitles, it's yellow for Japanese and white for Korean. So as we begin the movie, it's as one girl being hired as a handmaiden for a Japanese noblewoman. However, it's all a sham. It's... she's pretending to be a handmaiden, but in reality, she is a thief trying to steal the noblewoman's money through a very convoluted plan.
Well, she works for like a con artist kind of company almost. Like there's a lot of them there.
They're professional fences, so they sell stolen goods.
And stolen babies too, you know.
Oh yeah, that was a part that wasn't really addressed in the movie. So they're not stolen babies; they were basically babies abandoned,
who are going to be sold to rich people in Japan.
Yeah.
So this fence comes from a long line of thieves, and she works in tandem with a thief who we'll just refer to as the Count, because that's what he basically calls himself throughout. And to be frank, I don't remember what his real name is because it may have been mentioned once.
I don't think they even said it.
Count. Nope, just calls him by his name.
Yeah, Count Fujiwara.
So basically they call him the Count, and he outlines the history of the house they're trying to the house they're trying to deceive. So an old guy who fashions himself Japanese decides to Kozuki, even though he's born he's Korean born, but has a house that is both English and Japanese in style, and has a penchant, or enjoys books immensely, to say the least. We'll come to that.
Books.
And he has a daughter. He's essentially a retainer because his former wife's sister's daughter is still alive, and she's the inheritor of a fortune. He plans to marry her to get it, and so the Count plans to seduce her.
Yeah.
To elope and then have her committed to an insane asylum.
Yeah.
So that's the front outline that takes place in the first 10 minutes. And if you don't want the rest spoiled, get the fuck out.
Just stop now if you haven't seen it.
Stop now, go watch the movie because we're about to spoil the shit out of this. Okay.
This is a movie best watch unspoiled.
Yeah.
Oh, also, if you are homophobic, this movie is not for you.
They're not listening.
I mean, why would
That's true. We're pretty gay.
Yeah. Yes, you are. So it's told kind of episodically. It is cut into 3 parts. So part 1 is long enough that you actually kind of forget that we have 2 to 3 parts.
Yeah, despite the fact that it says part 1 in the beginning of the movie, but I completely forgot about that until you're like, there's a part 2.
Yeah,
I was like,
part 1 is like a movie in of itself.
You all were getting indignant, like, what the fuck is this?
I was so pissed.
Like, chill out. Part 2 is like, what?
Alex had seen this movie before us, and we were surprised. And I'm really glad that I didn't look up anything about this film, because it would have spoiled everything for me. Yeah, so we have the seduction of
Hideko.
Yeah, Lady Hideko, who speaks Korean because all the servants are Korean, I believe. Yeah. And she's been in Korea since she was 5. And this very hot romance between her and her handmaiden, Suki, who goes by Tamako, or...
Her original
Ukjo.
Yeah, because all the maids get Japanese names when they come into the house.
Yeah.
So she was given the name Tamako as a Japanese name, which was a change from her Korean name, which was Okju, which was a front because her real name is Suki. There we go. Mm-hmm. We will, from here on, just refer to her as Suki.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah. So Suki, her job is to convince Lady Hideko to fall in love with the Count, so that, the Count can marry her and take her money. But while doing that, she falls in love with Hideko.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it is glorious.
Yep. Some hot scenes in there.
Alex, I feel a little bad for you because me and Sam were just sitting on the couch just making sounds in unison oh, yes.
Oh, so hot. Cinematography is great also. There's a lot of beautiful asymmetry in some of the shots where it kind of plays off the the sense that something is being withheld, because you have them in part of the scene and it zooms out from like an empty space. So you have the sense that there's a depth that's going on, or something further is going on.
I was going to say, like, it's very different, at least stylistically and in color palette, but in a way it reminds me of a lot of Wes Anderson films, because they really valued their symmetry in certain places, and the way that the cinematography stood out so much in the set design really kind of reminded me a lot of that. But they use Japanese sliding paper doors to a great advantage many times.
I mean, just like the whole house in general was used very well for the shots.
Definitely in that Wes Anderson vibe, because like there are a few shots where they do definitely play off, because Wes Anderson likes to do that kind of like dollhouse look where it's like flat half the time. So there's definitely a lot of flat shots, but they'll zoom out of an empty room or things like that, and to give you a better sense of the depth that's around them. And
it was so symmetrical. I feel like this, where it wasn't symmetrical, really stood out. Like there's a couple, like, you know, the shot I'm thinking of specifically, where it was very asymmetrical, and like that was like the shot of the film for me.
Yeah. I love asymmetry in shots in general, or just in design in general as well. So Suki ends up falling in love with Hideko. Through very subtle kind of things, consider small things. Really the biggest and first one is, it's like she has a tooth that's...
No, it's before that. When Lady Hideko is getting dressed. So when she looks at her and she's like, I've never seen something, like, she didn't say she was this beautiful. Like, the Count didn't say she was this beautiful. I've never seen something so beautiful.
And she kept calling her innocent.
Yeah.
I think about this movie is it really likes its repetition of themes and changing how you feel about those themes.
There's a lot of repetition of lines, and you're just like, ooh, lines, I don't like when this person says this thing.
Oh,
but when the other person said it, it sounded so hot.
So there's a beautiful symmetry in both the shots as well as the lines, because of the episodic nature of the way the movie is set up. We're given 3 different perspectives on the same, in part 1 and 2, because those are meant to parallel one another, and the third is the final resolution to a degree. 1 and 2 are essentially from 2 different perspectives. They're supposed to be the same story, but from 2 different perspectives. And 3 is kind of tying them together and seeing how they're going to get away with it.
Yeah, and 2 completely flips on your head what you thought of 1.
Yeah, it's crazy. So in part 1, basically, like, we have this slow romance, and also there are these moments when Hideko and the Count are together, and he's pushing himself on her, and Suki is like, you know, she can't say anything because she's just the handmaiden, but she's getting very visibly upset, and Lady Hideko looks very uncomfortable. So, you know, it becomes this thing where Suki doesn't really want to go through with the plan anymore because she's falling in love. So she's halfway going through, like, saying the things that she's supposed to say, but at the same time, every time the Count tries to make a move, Suki interrupts or something like that. So it's this very slow, like, this started out as a job, but now I don't want to do it anymore because I'm falling in love with you. And then
we think the job is nearing completion because the Count seems to have gotten Hideko to, like, they started making out, or Suki caught them making out, and they're finally at the point where it's like, hey, we'll elope. They'll elope when Kozuki goes to go visit his mind.
Leaves,
the perverted uncle goes to visit his mind.
Fuck him.
I mean, fuck him the whole movie. There's never a...
Fuck him in the most uncomfortable way possible, in the most painful orifice.
In fairness, we haven't gotten to that part. Because part 2 we only get his characterization in part 2.
But in the first one, he's still creepy as fuck.
He just looks creepy.
No, but in the first one, it's established, like, he's this woman's uncle, and he's gonna marry her to take his fortune. So it's already, like, gross, because she says, like, I've lived here since I was 5 and I've been groomed to be his wife because he wants to take my money. So it's like, we already are just like, but Alex is right, we don't get a lot of characterization. So basically, yes, job is kind of complete. Hideko and Count run off to get married, but Hideko's only stipulation is that Suki can come also. And the Count kind of locks her in this, like, they go to Japan to elope. The Count kind of locks them in this house, so it has they're
like a hotel.
They're a hotel.
He could afford that, is what I wanted.
All that money he stole. He transfers all the stuff, like all her jewelry and stuff, to cash, And then they're like, okay, they have the people from the asylum come over to commit. And then and then Suki, of course, goes through with the plan. It's just like, yes, I think she doesn't need to be around people who will harm her or people who she can harm. So that kind of solidifies it for her to be in the nut house. But then we get to the asylum and it's Suki being dragged away.
And I was very upset about this.
We were like, what?
I'm like, it's not even 40 minutes in. Yeah. Or it's 40 minutes in, guys.
Yeah. So Suki...
It felt a lot longer than 40 minutes. So that felt like an hour and a half.
So the stipulation was they made the people at the asylum think that Suki was the countess who thought she was a handmaiden and was going crazy and stuff. Yeah. And just left her there. And then that was going to be the plan. Mm-hmm. And as she's like yelling at them in betrayal,
my heart fucking broke.
And we're heartbroken, broken. We're fuming. And then we get part 2.
Part 2 starts out with Hideko's childhood, essentially seeing how she was raised and what she had to deal with.
Yeah. Which, like from fucking age 5.
Yeah. She was being basically abused by her uncle.
Yeah. What do you mean, basically?
Yeah. Yeah, she was being abused by her uncle and trained for things.
Yeah. Tutored in the art of reading.
Yeah, reading.
Her aunt fulfilled this role originally until she committed suicide. Did not
supposedly committed suicide.
Yeah. Suicide by octopus.
Well, even Hideko figures it out when it's like, I was reading a book that said that when people die, their tongues stick out and they soil themselves. But my aunt looked clean. It's like, do you want to know why? I'll show you someplace. Let me take you someplace fun.
We get alluded to this basement a couple times, and it's a place of fear. And they frame it very well. We don't really find out what the basement is until the end of the movie. But it's like you feel her fear of the basement and what's in there. You're just like, what the fuck? Because you hear like sloshing sounds and it's filmed very dark. Like it's dark and blurry. It's very, very creepy.
What we do see a lot of though is the reading room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And basically we get the initial setup of how she first encounters the Count. Because the Count was actually a patron. He would come by for a bit, essentially. He was essentially casing the joint.
Mm-hmm. Well, we might want to mention like what the uncle's like hobby was. Yeah. Because we find out in the first half his hobby is literature. He
loves books.
They say he's the richest literature fan in the world, and at least I'm going to guess he's the richest fan of that particular literature in the world.
He collects
porn.
Yep.
Porn.
Ooh,
Japanese porn.
Japanese, basically fan fiction in the 1940s, 1930s.
So it's not even porn. It's like fucking bondage BDSM shit's going on in here.
So he has been grooming her to read out porn out loud to these men and
act out
the scenes where the pages are missing,
mm-hmm. or there's like illustrations,
or there's act out the illustrations and stuff like that. And it's
there's a bit
uncomfortable
with a mannequin and an obi and some ropes, and man, that's gonna be showing up in my nightmare later, probably.
Yeah. There's also a weird thing where the uncle takes the patrons into another room and whips Hideko in front of the men and then give the men a chance to be whipped by Hideko. And that's how he like pulls them in and keeps them like coming and buying books because they're just in love with her. So it's really funny because while she's reading, you can see the guys are like readjusting themselves and like
and just making like sounds like crossing their legs.
Yeah, and even the Count, like his face, like there's one part where his face gets really, really red, and then it's just like an exhale and like all of the color that comes back in because he probably just came.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's filmed very, very well.
I'm just going to mention that she's been groomed to do this since she was 5. You get to see the young actress version of her reading out words like penis and vagina, and then her nipples, uncle like nearly suffocating her and her aunt when they giggle at the words.
Yeah,
like
it's really uncomfortable.
The man deserves to die.
But also we get references to her cold heart, her cold hands, her dead eyes, and things like that.
And fully ripe. We get that one a lot.
The whole fully ripe. We hear that a lot.
Being fully ripe as a metaphor for obvious things, which is a really gross metaphor, by the way.
Obviously.
So the Count ends up talking to her at some point and says, meet me by the stone lamp. She doesn't show, and he just goes to her room. It's like, do you want to cause an issue? It's like, what if my handmaid... It's like, your handmaid's not here. She's sleeping in the regular servants' quarters. Mm-hmm. It's just like... And then you start speaking Korean to her, and it's like, I'm a thief, essentially. And it's like,
and this is where things turn a bit, because it's... So they make up a plan together where he's like, okay, how about this? How about I take you away from here and take all the money too?
Because his original plan was to seduce her, but he realized that wasn't going to happen.
He realized it wasn't going to happen because she's dead inside, and it wouldn't have worked.
But can you blame her for being dead inside?
Not really.
But he really seemed more like he was interested in the money originally. And
of course, yeah.
I feel like he gets off on the con itself.
Of course.
Yeah. That's fair. Considering his background, which he does go into a little bit more detailed on the third one. He talks briefly about it to her through the door, like...
Being like a poor like farmhand from Korea.
Yeah.
Who's like faking being a Japanese count.
Yeah, the count actually isn't Japanese. He's definitely Korean. They make this plan, and Hideko says, like, okay, well, find me a handmaiden who's naive and greedy, who I can just trick
and pretend as me.
Yeah, and then...
Before we put her in the insane asylum.
In my place, yeah.
Yep. So then she can go off and be free and take the handmaid's identity.
So this is where we get the flip of part one. So basically we get... Honestly, it's after... This scene with Hideko and the Count talking about the plan is the divergent point. Yeah. Because now we see... After this, like, maybe 10-minute setup, we basically almost get shot for shot all the same scenes from part one, but from
Hideko's point of view.
Well, I found what's curious is it's not just from Hideko's point of view, but it's a continuation of shots. And it really kind of brings like the idea of editing. Because obviously, we don't think about this in movies. We think, okay, the end of the scene and the end of the shot, like that's the end of what happened. Nothing notable happened after that point. But like from the second movie on, like we see some really important scenes, and then it keeps going from where it stopped in the first end. And you see what happened was actually less a matter of perspective and more a matter of what was shown to the audience.
Yeah. One thing we left out of part one was there's a scene where it's just like, what do men want in bed?
Oh, yeah. Gosh, we messed up. The best part of part one.
How could we miss it? That was our favorite part.
Okay, so first of all, there's a very hot scene. Before that, there's a very hot scene of Suki shaving down a sharp tooth of Hideko. It's basically like she has a thimble on her finger, and she's basically like finger fucking her in the mouth. But sorry, Dad.
She's in the bath. There are rose petals involved. I'm so sorry, Sam.
And it's a long scene.
Tilt down to breath. Tilt up. You get her internal monologue during a lot of it as well.
And that's one of the things actually they cut off midway through, because we cut off right at the kind of point of the sexual tension. So we think that maybe, okay, the sexual tension is going to die down. And then the second half of the movie shows you, no.
And then part two.
Yeah.
Part two, she got in the bath. We're like, oh, yes. Yeah. But, so in part two, in part one, there is a scene. She's like, I don't know what men want. I don't know what to do.
Do you think the Count would be this gentle?
Yes, of course.
Suki reaches into the drawer and finds a lollipop.
Oh man,
and like gets like her like mouth really sweet, and then she's like, "Oh, I'll show you," and like starts kissing her and stuff.
Because you just think girls practice with each other all the time,
yeah,
right?
because that's what guys think.
That's what frat boys think that we do. I think.
Do they think that we practice kissing? Yeah, Alex is yeah, but so
I filmed it. No.
So then she's like, see, I taught you. In her internal monologue, she's like, I'm going to teach her this one thing. And then Lady Hideko grabs her face and they start making out like crazy. And then we get one of the hottest lesbians.
Yeah. You know what? It's what Cruel Intentions wanted to be.
Yeah. In part one, it cuts off. In part one, it cuts off just before she would start
going down on her.
Yeah, before Suki starts going down on Hideko. Part two shows the continuation of the scene where, oh no, they completely fucked.
They had a lot of
And
sex.
most importantly, like there's this amazing part where Suki is like on top of Hideko, and Hideko is doing things that I will not say on a podcast, but it's definitely great.
Hot.
And it's like, you won't ever betray me, right? Like, you'll never betray me. Promise you'll never betray me. And Suki's just like, no, I'll never betray you.
Well, I mean, in the throat, it wasn't like a hesitant. She definitely said straight up, I'll never betray you.
Yeah, which I mean, like,
We do get that slight betrayal in part in part 2 as well, because part 1 makes us think that no, she was completely fine with betraying. Part 2 is our resolution to show us that's like, no, she's not cool with it.
Well, I think part 1 does show us that at least like she was having hesitation. Yeah. Because there's a couple of scenes where she does kind of mess up the plan on purpose because she doesn't want to see something bad happen to what at this point is her lover.
Yeah. Part 2, Hideko just straight up asks her, it's like, what if I told you what you're saying? I love him, even though I'm telling you I may not love him, and I might love another.
Yeah, and like, that's when Suki's like, go with the plan. Like, you do want to be with him. You do love him.
We see her slap her.
We see her slap her once. We see her slap her once and then push her out of the room. But in the second part, we see after Suki gets pushed into the room, we see her crying, and then we see Hideko. Basically, she's going to go hang herself afterwards.
With the rope that her aunt was hanging from.
Yeah, with the rope that her aunt hung from.
Part 1 only shows us the rope from the tree. Yeah. But we don't have the context of the hanging.
Yeah, why the rope was in the tree.
Yeah, we just thought that was like a kind of a symbolism thing of her. Oh, like this is, the plan is
or a remnant of the aunt, but we had seen the tree in previous shots without the rope.
Yeah.
But in part 2, Hideko was going to go hang herself.
Yes, but Suki like... Stops her,
holds her, literally catches her
before she drops, and then that's when Hideko reveals the whole plan. She's like, "You thought you were tricking me, but in reality, we were tricking you."
Yeah, they both come clean.
Yeah, and then they make a plan, and I felt so much better.
Oh, I know. Like, as soon as they were on the same page, I was just like, "Okay," because
we were both like, "Oh."
Yeah.
So at the point, like when she turns her into the asylum, they were both in on it, so it makes you feel better about that whole exchange.
Yeah.
So now the plan is to screw over the Count and have them get away.
Also, as a part of the plan, we get referenced to the basement again, and he gives Hideko concentrated opium.
That's like her winnings, basically.
A concentrated opiate. And says, if you ever get captured...
you don't want to end up in that basement.
Yeah, and you don't want to end up in the basement. Take this opium. It'll
3 drops will have you sleep deep. 5 drops will knock out a horse. The whole vial will kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And no one wants to be in the basement with the octopus, let's be honest.
Yeah, okay, it gets revealed later in part 3 that there's an octopus down there. Yeah. Jeez, and it's huge.
Which is a reference to a very classic piece of Japanese pornographic art.
Yes.
That we do see in the movie.
So after Suki and Hideko are like, okay, we're going to leave this place. So they go into the library and Suki just starts destroying all of the books. Because I think most of them are fakes.
Yeah, and she finds out, this is what they've been making Hideko do.
Yeah, she's like, he's been, that old pervert's been making me read these books, and she just destroys everything.
She starts helping, they throw ink on the books.
They throw them in the water.
Yeah, and this is also the moment where we get Hideko's actual feeling like, oh my god, it's very freeing for her when she finally, joins in on destroying the books. You can see it her face. She's just like, I did it. Yeah. And we also get a very nice moment of Hideko leaving the boundary of the estate for the first time.
She's never done before.
And Suki is helping her over the wall of it. And it's very adorable.
Well, there's a really nice motif too, because you see the part where she jumps off the branch when she's going to hang herself, which I think is visually shot very similar to the part where she jumps over the fence.
Yeah. Because we only see her really falling. Beautiful. We don't see her actually hit the ground. So it looks like she's just kind of jumping down farther than what she actually is.
Also, as a side note, we didn't even mention the fact that the uncle left his original Korean wife and then employed the Korean wife as the handmaiden to his new Japanese wife.
Yeah.
Who is also abusive as shit.
Yeah, the new handmaiden is a bitch.
I mean, they literally lock Hideko in the room.
Yeah.
With a snake thing?
It's okay.
There's a snake symbolism. It's weird. I loved when Suki literally beheaded the fucking snake.
Yeah.
Symbolism.
Yay.
Yeah. Sorry, we'll keep going.
So then we get to part 3, which is okay, now we're all cut up. We know what the plans are going to be. So as she's getting...
This is after... So
yeah.
This is the culmination of part 1 and 2 after Suki is committed.
Yeah,
but now
we're in Japan.
And now we know Suki is in on the plan.
Yeah, and now we know it's the betrayal wasn't real.
We just want our lesbians to be happy.
So how does Hideko get around the Count? And that's kind of what it is. It's just it's a small lead up because honestly, the part 3 is really short compared to 1 and 2, which is fair.
Yeah, because 1 and 2 were like 40 minutes each, and I feel like part 3 was only 20 at best.
Yeah. And honestly, just kind of wraps up.
It wraps up and it feels good because it's like I've watched so many Korean movies where the people you want to live do not live and do not succeed. And I was just like, please, for once, Korea, let me have this.
Everyone got what they deserved in this movie.
Yeah.
Whether it was like the forgers back home getting some cash payment, whether it was our glorious lesbians running off into the glorious sunset together with metal balls, and or the fucking old men dying together in sadomasochistic basement.
Yeah. The Count got his fingers cut off.
He was about to get his dick cut off. But then he's smoking these special cigarettes that were filled with mercury. Yeah, which I guess we should mention that Hideko sold out the Count to her uncle and basically wrote a letter like, hey, this is what really happened, and I've hired these 2 men to come catch the Count, who is pantsless when they come in.
Yeah. It's like, could you fetch those for me?
And they take the Count back to Korea, where he will receive his punishment. And oh boy, does he.
Yeah. It is a punishment.
Because they also blame the breaking of the books on him, too. So
yeah, they blame the destruction of the books on him. The end feels really good.
Oh, so satisfying.
Shitty people get their comeuppance, lesbians into the sunset.
Yeah, and it's okay. And there's also a really adorable shot, too, because the Count... actually, no. The uncle sends out people to look for the 2 girls. So he sends them looking for 2 women. So Hideko dresses up like a man, and they like forge the passports.
Yeah, they hired their friends back in Korea to forge the passports.
And she's pretending to be a very young, effeminate man. And they actually get on the boat, and they have this cute moment where they throw the shitty ring that the Count gave them and the fake mustache off the end of the boat, and they're just like laughing and making out.
Well, not only that, they put it in gloves, which the whole time has been like a symbolism for Hideko's like oppression, because she always puts on gloves when she has to do the readings, or when she's talking to the Count, or when she's talking to her uncle. And so when she takes them off and throws them in with the ring, like this is all symbolic of freedom. Yeah. And then lesbians.
And one more hot scene to finish, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Final thoughts.
Ooh. Fucking love that movie.
Watch this movie, but make sure you got
free time.
Yeah, some free time afterwards.
Free time and some good company.
Yeah, and some good company.
I will definitely say it is stressful. I was very stressed out all through part 1 and a good chunk of part 2.
Yeah. Most of part 2.
First time I watched it, definitely.
Yeah, Alex is sitting over here giggling, just enjoying the lesbian.
What was it like watching it like a second time through, knowing what was going to happen? Did it change part 1?
It was amusing to watch you 2 squirm. Honestly,
we were very vocal the whole time. I will admit.
What the fuck is going? It's like,
yeah, no. When they had the scene of her being pulled away and committed, Jill and I were like, "What? Are you kidding?"
I had to hold Sam's hand a couple points because I'm like, Sam, no, I can't get through this alone.
I knew it. I knew these girls weren't shit.
I will say from the beginning, I never fucking trusted Lady Hideko because I'm like, this is going too smoothly.
Yeah, that's what it's just
Hideko is being way too seductive on purpose.
I was just
and pretending to be innocent. Something's up.
Wait, how did no one get caught? Like, what's going on? It was just like, this is going too well. What's going to happen? Like, and then she gets committed. And I was like, that's the worst way for things to go.
Visually, too, it was just so gorgeous. I don't know what was sexier, the girls or the costume design, because I was living for both.
Or the shots of the scenery.
Oh, God, it was really, so really good. I want all of her outfits, and I want to live in that house, minus the creepy sex room.
Yeah.
And the basement.
Yeah, minus the basement, the sex room, and the reading room.
This is an amazingly planned film in terms of both like its story setup and its execution, paralleling itself between the 3 parts. Part 1 and 2 do the best paralleling because 3 is really just the summation.
Yeah.
But 1 and 2 are beautifully done in terms of like, it's like a choose your own adventure book, but you get to see both halves of it and see where they complement one another. And this complements part 1 and 2 complement each other extremely well to a degree I don't think I've seen in a lot of films.
Yeah. There's a lot of subtle lighting that's really good, and it's lit very well for the intimate moments, and it's just it's so good.
Lighting is like a storyteller of itself. Like there's some gorgeous moments where like it lights up when Hideko and Tsuki are together, and there's obviously like moments of darkness because the electricity flickering in this guy's house like to really great effect. But I do have to say, I wonder what this is like for someone who is not super intimate with at least East Asian cultures. And I wonder how that changes someone's perspective of looking at this, because it's deeply, deeply rooted in East Asian history and culture and traditions. Like the whole reading thing you were telling me, Sam.
Yeah, so the reading that Hideko and Hideko's aunt did, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a specific performance where the person who's reading plays all the parts in a play, and he usually has like one prop, and he's sitting, either he's memorized the whole story or he's sitting with the book in front of him, and basically acting out the whole book for the audience. And this is not always done for porn. I would hate for this to be your first time knowing of this kind of thing, because it's not usually for porn. It's actually it's done with comedies. They'll do a lot of like funny. There's another Japanese movie about two guys who their job is basically they're entertainers, performers of reading this book. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember the movie.
The art of words is a huge thing in Japan.
Yes.
And I think the fact that I want to note that the entire cast is Korean. There is not a single Japanese name in the Korean cast, even the people that are supposed to be Japanese.
Well, actually, there's nobody really in this movie who's Japanese.
Hideko, she was born and raised. She was not raised in Japan, but she was ethnically completely Japanese.
Yeah, but the way it's very funny because the way she speaks Korean is very fluid. It's not learned. It doesn't sound learned at all. That's obviously because she's Korean. And she speaks Korean most of the film. So that's the only thing they didn't really explain. They said like, oh, her nanny was Korean and that's how she learned it. But that was just kind of a cover used for the asylum. They never really explained how she's so good at Korean, because she doesn't seem to like anybody in the house.
And her uncle makes her speak Japanese with him constantly.
And the uncle is obvious. He's Korean. He speaks Japanese very slowly. Mm-hmm. The count also speaks Japanese slowly because they're like, oh, nobles, we speak slowly. But they're both lying to each other.
Yeah, they're both pretending.
Yeah, and then we have the aunt who is Japanese. She's the only one who's supposed to be fully Japanese. She doesn't speak any.
Born and raised there.
Yeah,
supposedly.
She doesn't speak any Korean, but she's also played by a Korean woman. So nobody in this movie is Korean. I mean, nobody in this movie is Japanese, but it's done really well. Yeah,
like great cinematography, great acting. It's a
good movie. Watch it.
Oh, definitely watch it. Although I'm gonna say, I feel like what I just realized. Yeah. The uncle's a weeboo.
Yeah, the uncle's definitely a weeboo.
He's like the old, early 1900s version of a weeboo.
Yeah.
Hentai obsession included.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
You saw that coming
movie
out.
has been ruined. Actually, it totally hasn't.
You should definitely watch it. Insane. I really pity you if you haven't watched it yet and you've gotten this far into the podcast. I'm so sorry. Why did you ruin this?
Do this to yourself. We tell you spoilers. Yeah, it's a great piece of lesbian cinema, honestly. So
we'll take a brief break and we'll come back with Biutiful 2010 from Mexico. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yay! Okay, and we are back. Let's talk about Biutiful.
2010, Mexico. Though it does take place in Spain. Basically, this is somewhat post-Franco Spain, so fascists, essentially. Our main protagonist is
Uzbal,
who just trying to raise two kids through divorcee.
They're not divorced; they're separated.
Yeah, separated.
Uzbal
is played by Javier Bardem from Babel and No Country for Old Men. He is honestly, I don't think the film
very good in this film.
I really don't think the film would have worked without him.
Yeah.
Because he does some scummy shit. He does a lot of scummy shit. And honestly, he really doesn't get his comeuppance for that scummy shit.
I mean, well,
yeah, and some of it is kind of incidental scummy shit, but a lot of it is through his own decisions and who he associates with and what he does. We kind of forgive him throughout the film for his transgressions because of
he's trying.
Yeah,
he's trying to be a good guy. It's just like he's not very. So Javier Bardem's character it's very difficult to classify him because he's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He's just a guy trying to live on the very small means that he has. So he works with a Chinese sweatshop owner. They make fake bags, and it's
fake burned DVDs.
Yeah, just like fake things. And then he is their connection between the Chinese workers and the African immigrants who sell the bags on the street. He's also the connection to the police, of playing off the police so the police doesn't, pick up these people. Mm-hmm. And it's not that he doesn't care about these people. Like he has a very good relationship with the Chinese. Well, not the guy who runs everything, but with the workers. And in fact, one of the women, Lily, babysits his children and, takes care of them. He's very good friends with his children and him. And then he's also kind of taking care of the African migrants' family. Mm-hmm. 'Cause he keeps telling them, he's like, I know you guys are selling drugs on the side. Please stop. Because I can't stop the police from coming to get you if they find out about the drugs. So, and he's also like, think of your wife, because they do get picked up.
Yeah.
And in a very violent way. And Javier Bardem's character, Usbal, tries to take care of the wife of one of the immigrants, because they're living in a 1-bedroom house with 15 people, and she has a baby. She has a 1-year-old.
Yeah. Ekweme, her husband, ends up getting deported after they get caught, and Ige, this lady, ends up basically
she wants to move back. Because she's like, I can't be here with that. She's like, I'd rather be with my husband than be over here by myself.
Kwame doesn't want her to go with her because...
Yeah, he's like they're from Senegal.
Yeah.
So he's like, there's no jobs in Senegal. He's just like, at least save a little bit of money up, and then you could get a real job and take care of the family. Like, it's better than going back to Senegal. But she's like, I know I want to be with my husband.
Yeah.
And there's also, we forgot to mention, Javier Bardem, he's, like I said, he's separated. He's not divorced. Mm-hmm. And his wife is bipolar. Mm-hmm. And she says she's a masseuse, but she does those 3 a.m. massages at her husband's brother's house.
Yeah.
She's whoring herself out.
Yeah. And his brother is... So a lot of the film spends time, and we do want to go into the film, but at the same time we kind of want to dance around it, because there's a lot that it's better revealed to you through watching the film. Mm-hmm. Honestly, spoiler warning, because...
I don't know why you guys listen to this before you've seen a movie.
That's fair. I mean, we do nothing but spoilers. Except, there's a few films we just didn't expound upon in heavy detail. And we can't really talk about fight scenes anyway for those other ones.
Yeah.
But when it comes to drama like this, it's it's the interaction between the characters and their environments that really plays into how it is. And goddamn, does Usbal suffer.
Yeah. So there's also this kind of very small side plot. Usbal is kind of psychic.
Yeah.
In the way that he can see the dead. Mm. So, before they move on. So he's getting a little bit of money from people who just have someone who lost a loved one recently. If the loved one stayed behind, he will kind of give the last message that the person gave. And this is very, very subtle in the movie. They don't push it a lot. I think the most we get out of it is he has a friend who's also a psychic, who he kind of goes to for advice and to break down and stuff. Because Usbal has cancer. Pancreatic cancer, I believe it is.
I'm pretty sure it was...
Is it pancreatic?
I'm pretty sure it was colon cancer.
Is it colon cancer?
It was colon cancer, and since it's moved from your colon to your bones and now to your liver.
Okay, yeah. So, and
pissing blood.
I guess he couldn't afford to go to the doctor because he's, rubbing 2 pennies together. But they got to a point where it was just there's nothing they could do. They could just give him chemo to stretch it out for a little bit longer. Yeah. But they're like, you are going to die in a few months. And he doesn't want to tell anyone because he doesn't trust anyone, which is fair. He doesn't. His brother is a cokehead and irresponsible. Yeah. His wife is bipolar, and even though she's trying to get her to get help, take her pills and stuff, she's not doing it.
Yeah. One of the few scenes that is filmed brightly is a scene where they're in a kind of domestic environment where it's Marambra, his separated wife, him, and their 2 kids, and they're just eating food together, and it's it plays like a regular family life.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can tell, like, this is what he wants, but he's
not going to get it.
Yeah.
Because right after that, it's she goes back to her normal self.
Yeah.
And it's also he just doesn't have anybody. He's like, who, like, I want my children to be taken care of, because the other psychic who's giving, she's like, get your affairs in order. And he's like, I can't die.
Yeah.
Because I can't die. I need someone to take care of my children. I don't trust these people to take care of my children.
So most of the film is honestly just like him attempting to, 1, survive, 2, suss out a life for his kids, 3, get enough money to kind of provide for them the best he can. He's trying to find a caretaker for his kids to a degree. It's like he's hoping it's his wife, and then she disappoints the shit out of him.
Yeah. So she says she caught Mateo. Yeah, she says she caught Mateo, who was the 7-year-old, smoking, and then the cigarette fell on the mattress and it burned. And I was like, really? Mateo smoking cigarettes? Okay, we haven't seen any evidence of this throughout the movie. Oh, cool. So she threw the mattress out the window, I guess to put out the fire, and then had him go down. A 7-year-old sent a 7-year-old downstairs to go pull the mattress back upstairs.
Yep.
And then she smacked him.
Yeah.
And he has a huge bruise on his face.
And of course, he's 7, he's blaming himself.
Yeah. Because he's like, oh, it's my fault. Like, I did it, blah, blah, blah. I made mom angry at me. Because also they know, like, mom is a very, she's a delicate soul. Like, you have to be delicate with mom. And they also have Anna, the daughter, who's 12?
Yeah.
12? When she's in good mode, she's in one of her highs. She says, well, for Anna's birthday, let's go on a trip. We'll go take a train to go see the snow. Mm-hmm. And, the kids are, they're looking forward to it. Because this is the thing. It's just like, yes, they know their mom's a little bit crazy and kind of dangerous, but they still love her. Mm-hmm. She's their mom, and they want their parents to be together and be happy. Javier also, he's like, he wants to make it work with her, but he sees like she's a wreck. Mm-hmm. And also, like, he's dealing with cancer right now. So it's like
he's doing his best to kind of set up things for, like, hopefully some long-term things for others as well as himself.
Yeah.
In the sweatshop, I actually don't even want to detail it. It's an important part. So something happens at the sweatshop that changes a lot of things, and he has to go talk to his brother. His brother's just like, no. It's supremely important that he talks to his brother because his brother set up the contract with construction workers so the Chinese could work with them to get money, but something happened where they can't work anymore, and Uzbal's just being railroaded to the side by his brother. It's like, I see this beautiful woman. He's like doing, like, pushing coke and like throwing alcohol at him, and he just can't get a word in.
Yeah.
And his brother steps away to take a piss, and he's left to some random party girl.
And he finally tells someone that he has cancer.
It's like, I'm fucking dying. And so we haven't talked about the cinematography, which is fucking amazing. There's a lot of great scene balancing, both in terms of
there's a lot of good lighting that reflects how Uzbal is feeling at the moment. In the moments where he feels like, things are going well, like it can, like, this can work. It's very bright. And in the moments where he's kind of losing control of the situation, it's dark and difficult to see because of street lights or lights in the bar that they were in and stuff. And the camera also kind of tilts around him to show like he's very disoriented.
The bar's a good one too, because that's, since it is his kind of reveal of finally telling somebody besides
the other psychic,
that he's fucking dying of cancer. Is the bar is kind of like this hedonistic display of life. Yeah, like it is like sex.
Women wearing like boob butt covers and stuff,
and masks that are a giant tit.
Yeah, it's very strange.
So it's this like hyperbolic life view of life. Yeah, of like just raw sexuality and raw, just like in your face life.
Yeah,
and here is a man trying to get by, dying.
Yeah.
He gets home late. He had told Marambara to take the kids a day early.
Yeah.
And here we find that
it wasn't a day early. It was the weekend that they were going to go on the trip, but he was supposed to, before all the crazy stuff happened with the the Chinese workers. He was supposed to go on the trip too, but he was just like, just go on the trip, go without me. Like, that's fine. I have some stuff to do with.
I'll take a later
train.
Yeah. He ends up finding Mateo home alone.
Yeah. Not just home alone and with a huge bruise on his face.
Yeah.
Because apparently, so Mateo has a bedwetting problem. And, Usbal knows about it, and he doesn't, he doesn't give him shit about it. He's just like, it's okay. Every time, because Mateo's very upset about it, because he's 7-year-old and he's still wetting the bed. Like, he's already upset enough.
Yeah. I'll wash the sheets tomorrow, Dad. Like, the first time he does it early on in the film.
Yeah. And he says, oh, I wet the bed. It's my fault. And the mom hit him and then left him home alone. And like I said, keep in mind, Usbal's coming home super late at night, drunk. And he told them to go, like, it was like maybe sunset when they were getting on the train.
Yeah.
So Mateo's been home alone this whole time, stewing in like this sadness and guilt that it's his fault. So she only took the daughter. And of course, Usbal is furious because it's like she had already kind of smacked him once, and he was like, I'm done with you, but I want the kids to be happy. But as soon as he did this, Usbal is furious, and he's like packing everything up. He's like, I'm leaving you. And she's freaking out, and she's holding on to Mateo.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, don't take my baby. Don't take him. Don't take my baby. And I'm just like, you just like smacked him and left him home alone.
Yeah. We get a lot of pans in this film where we'll move either to like, I don't think there was an empty space one, but usually we'll move to other characters. Mm-hmm. And in this tug of war that they're essentially playing, it pans over to Anna,
who's crying behind the wall because she's
and then Mateo Usbal is based and starts choking Muramura.
Yeah, because it's like he's just so angry, and he's not a super violent guy. He has been moments where he gets violent with Muramura. Just because it's like she's relentless. Not like saying like, oh, she deserves it, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't. But he doesn't know how to control his anger either. And it's just these two people just don't belong together because they're extremely dangerous for each other. So yeah, he starts choking her, and then finally she lets Mateo go and leave.
She throws the ring back at him.
Their wedding ring.
Yeah, which was apparently Usbal's mother's ring.
His Usbal's mother's ring. There's a very cute story about, it's cute and very sad.
It bookends
it bookends the film. There's a,
we'll come to it once we get to the end, I think.
Usbal's father left while,
Franco's Spain was happening.
Yeah, Franco's Spain was happening, and left while Usbal's mother was pregnant.
Yeah.
So he never met his father. You can tell he has stories about how they were in love and stuff, but he was escaping because he didn't want to be killed. But then he went to Mexico and then died like very soon after of pneumonia.
Yeah.
So the father was
like 20.
Not exhumed. He was embalmed and sent back to Spain to be buried. And there is kind of a very small subplot where some like businesses tearing down the
cemetery,
because it's one of those places where people aren't buried; they're just put into shelves, I guess.
Niches.
So they're going to pull the father out, and they were going to
bury him somewhere, or
cremate him. So this is the first time Usbal sees his father, because since he's embalmed, he still has a little bit of the facial features. Mm-hmm. So he spends a lot of time looking at his father's face. Mm-hmm. And it's a very sad and soft moment. And there's also a moment, there's a line in the movie, Ige goes to live with Usbal because Usbal's just like, I promise I'd take care of you. You guys are getting kicked out of your apartment. Like,
you can live in
my old house while I'm living with my wife. But that doesn't work out. So he moves back to the house, and now it's an awkward couple. It's awkward at first because
Ige figures it out that he's dying.
Yeah, well, because he's like, he can't get up out of bed. Sometimes he's peeing blood. He's wearing diapers at some point because he can't control his bladder.
Yeah, like
she's giving him medicine.
It's like, I'm trying to go back, and she's like, please stay.
Yeah,
because she is like the last person left who is somewhat responsible.
Because she's like, well, at least she's a mother. She understands. She's a mother who wants to take care of her child.
So we've seen building shots throughout the film of him like stashing money away between what he grifts from the cut he's supposed to be giving to the cops to his cuts from all the other stuff he does. And he's been packing it away, and he starts pulling this money out. It's like, this is enough for a year's rent.
Just please stay and take care of the children.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
I gotta leave. I want to see my husband.
And it kind of leave it at that to a degree. But one of our last scenes is like she's packed up everything, including the money.
Yeah.
And drops off the kids at the train station. And Uzbal is doing his last medication. Anna had figured it out, but hasn't told Mateo.
Yeah.
And
so she's sleeping in the bed with him because I guess she stays home from school. She doesn't go to school.
Yeah. But before he goes to bed, he's kind of like in this, the camera's like off tilt and things are kind of rolling around. The lighting has gone dark.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's kind of similar to how the lighting goes whenever he sees ghosts, and we see ghosts throughout the film.
Yeah. It's kind of like this is Uzbal's torture of himself, because he's constantly seeing the ghosts of things happening, and they're just kind of like crawling on the ceiling. So it's like, it's a very, very small horror element. It's not jump scary, but it's thriller-like.
Yeah, I feel like it's more representative of unfinished business, because that's kind of what it is throughout the whole film. And
the whole film is about his unfinished business.
Yeah, and things left behind and things that you can't choose. All right, well, so he's hallucinating in the bathroom to a degree, so he can't tell if this is reality or not. And he's like, Ige, is that you? It's like, yes, I came back. But we don't physically see her.
We don't physically see her, so we don't know if she's dead and coming back as a ghost, if he's hallucinating this, or if she actually came back.
Yeah.
So it's like, like, who's going to take care of the kids? Because, of course, that is, the second to last scene, but the last scene of him being alive.
Yeah.
In the movie.
He is in the bed with Anna, and this is where the book ending comes in. So in the beginning of the film, there are two scenes. One, we're basically getting this from two different perspectives, both in the beginning and end. And the first portion is two pairs of hands, Uzbal's and who we assume is Maramba, in the beginning.
Talking about the ring and the story behind the ring.
Yeah. And then giving it to who we assume is Maramba.
Yeah, the female to put it on her finger.
And then the second scene is of Uzbal in the snow, which we had assumed was the trip.
Yeah.
With a young man. And they're smoking cigarettes and talking about the ocean. And the ocean is kind of alluded to throughout the film, both in visuals and sounds. I think it's supposed to more represent like kind of this place of like freedom and possibility on it, even though he said it terrified him. And now, at the end of the film, we have the inverse shots where we see who the dialogue was taking place from. At least for
we find out the hands were Anna asking about the ring, and she's like, oh, can I put it on? And then like after she puts it on, that's
like, it's yours.
Yeah, he's like, it's yours now. And we pan over to Uzbal sitting in the chair, kind of his ghost looking at it, and he's dead. He knows he's dead now. And then he opens his eyes and he's in the snow. And it turns out that the guy from the beginning looks very similar to his father.
Yeah, pretty much.
What he thinks his father looks like.
Well, we did see the open casket of the embalming. So it's like, it is his father, tried and true. So he is finally meeting his father in death.
Yeah. It's very sweet, and it's a very sad movie. It's weird because it's like, it's a really, really good movie. It's very well shot. The story is very good, but it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's so heavy. Like, we were just like, we need to watch something funny after this.
Yeah, we watched some Game Grumps. Final thoughts.
I would definitely recommend this movie if you like dramas. If you can handle the heaviness of death and the fear of death and cancer and slowly dying, then yes. It's a very slow trudge to death. And it, like Alex says, like, it doesn't feel like he's suffering enough, but he is suffering. Like, he's in pain every single day. Yeah. He's in pain every single day, and he has, the weight of his decisions. Like, he has cancer, but he hasn't told his family. Like, he doesn't know who's going to take care of him. He doesn't know who's going to take care of his children. His wife's crazy. His brothers are responsible. Like, the thing with the Chinese workers happens, and it's like he is suffering, but it's very much, it's not the suffering of like, it's not justice.
Yeah. Yeah. In fairness,
the thing is, it's not that he's not suffering, it's that there's no justice really.
Yeah. For the crimes he does commit, he really doesn't suffer for them. He does emotionally, because he does feel bad for one thing that happens, but he never turns himself in for it.
Well, because he can't. Cause if I turn myself in, like, who's going to take care of my? Like, then the police are really going to take my money and my kids.
So all the contrast we have is between the suffering that he has no choice in, and the things to which he chooses that end up causing suffering as well. And there's this nice balance between the film showing you both and how he reacts to it. Really, I feel like the film ultimately is still pretty much about just like what we leave behind and what we choose to leave behind. Not in terms of a legacy, but like the business we can and can't resolve, the things that we have a choice in, and the things that are really just like out of our control. There's a lot of good shots, and if you pay attention, you'll see like things kind of being rehashed throughout it. This is definitely more subtle than the whereas in the Handmaiden, it is done through dialogue.
Heavy dialogue.
Yeah, heavy dialogue. Here it is done visually. Like, they talk about the ocean in the beginning. There's a lot of oceanic references in the shots and sounds throughout the film.
There's a lot of, actually, also something about this film. There's very little music in this film.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, the sound is used very efficiently in this film. There's a lot of times where the sound completely cuts out when he's disoriented, or he has to make a very big decision. And the sounds of the crowd, like the city around him, is used. Like, you hear more of the city around him than you do any kind of music or anything. So whoever did the sound editing for this movie did a really great job of controlling the emotions of the viewers as we're watching this film. And we didn't even realize it till like the movie. So they finally did play something. Yeah, they finally did play music. We're like, oh my god, there's been no music the whole time in this film.
I think there's only 6, maybe 8 points, and that sounds like a lot. But in most films, that's nothing.
Yeah.
This one is very controlled with it and does a really good job with the silence on it.
Yeah, we actually had to pause the movie in the middle. I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
It was loud. But yeah, give it a watch if you can handle heavy dramas like this. I would not recommend it if you get triggered by death or you know, this kind of depression. Like I said, there is a very bipolar wife, and she's not treated very well at all.
This film is like heart-wrenching enough that I would put it up on Requiem for a Dream level of like, it's gonna fuck up your day.
Yeah,
maybe
watch it at night. Don't watch it like in the beginning of the day.
I don't know if I want to go to bed.
It's hard. Like, when do you watch this? Because it's like, you can't really go on with your day after this, like, but it's also like, do you really want to go to bed thinking about this?
We'll plan some games around it or something.
Play some board games. Play some board games afterwards.
Yeah. But so yeah, I definitely give it a recommend.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take our brief. We're gonna take our
we're done. Actually.
We're gonna take our break that we normally take because we already did.
Because this is the third episode of the month. So next week we're gonna take a break. I don't really know what we're going to do for March, but I think we're going to try to plan out all the movies for March before we watch them. So we'll be working on that next week.
If we don't do triple, we'll do double feature instead.
Yeah, we're going to try to mix things up and do double features so that we can talk. So maybe we can go into the movies a little bit more, maybe have a little bit shorter episodes. Also, we're going to start brainstorming some other things that we can do. Maybe some live shows, maybe play around with the graphics. So that we can, enhance the videos for you guys, make them more appealing, I guess. So yeah. With that said, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever the hell you may be. Take care. Goodbye.